All right, I think we're recording. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me.
For everyone watching, this is Jennifer Ellis with First United Bank. She's a mortgage loan officer there and is going to tell us everything we need to know about the lending process. And the first thing I wanted to ask you, Jennifer, is what is the first step in lending for somebody that wants to buy a house? I suppose they need to come to you for a pre-approval.
Right. Yeah, so the very first step is to get in touch with me, get a pre-approval started, pre-qualifications started. And that will allow your lender to kind of get a good idea of what you can do, how much you can buy, let you know kind of where your payments are going to land, how much you need to bring to closing. It kind of just gives an overall like snapshot of your financial situation.
Why is it important to do that before you start going to look at homes?
Well, generally it's important to do that so that you're not looking at houses that you really can't afford. So that's really heartbreaking when someone goes and looks at a bunch of homes that they really like and they fall in love with one and then go get the pre-qualification only to find out that they can't afford it. In the pandemic that we're in right at the moment, it's more important even because a lot of the inventory in the Tulsa market is very low. And so you have to move very, very quickly when you find that house. So again, you may be looking in the right payment range and price point, but if you have to wait, go get pre-qualified, that may take a little bit of extra time and you may lose out on the house because of it.
How much time does it take for a pre-approval and what all do you need from a potential buyer?
Well, a pre-qualification is just done on verbal information. So that's information that you give me either through an online application, which takes, I don't know, usually 15 or 20 minutes. And it's an interview style, so it doesn't take very long, or a phone call with me. Again, that takes a little bit longer because questions pop up, so maybe 30 or 45 minutes. But you know, sometimes it can take a little bit longer just depending on how busy I am and you know, maybe if it's in the weekend or a holiday and I'm a little lag on getting back to you, but it doesn't take very long and it's super painless because it's just information that you're giving me verbally. So if I'm unsure about something, I'll ask for some follow-up documentation, but you know, it's pretty quick and pretty painless.
What's the difference between the pre-qualification and the pre-approval?
Pre-qualification, again, is information given verbally. Pre-approval is actually getting financial documents in so that I can take a look at them and make sure that what we're talking about matches up. Because a lot of times, you know, buyers don't do this every day. I do, so they may be thinking one thing and I actually get the documentation and it says something different. So we want to make sure that those kind of match up.
So once a buyer gets pre-approved or pre-qualified, still the lending process can be foreign to a lot of especially first-time buyers and seem overwhelming. What is the next step after you get a home under contract and you begin the actual lending process?
So once you get it under contract and you start the process, I'll be in contact with you. We'll be, if we haven't already gotten documentations in, things like pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements, things that we need to document the file. You'll be asked for those up front or at the time of contract. We talk about rate. We talk about making sure that we're getting, you know, everything that we talked about in the pre-qualification process. We're just reviewing that again to make sure that you're getting into the loan that you wanted to get into at the rate that we kind of discussed. And I let you know what documents we need, and then there's a disclosure process. And so all of that together can take a day or two or three, just depending on, again, how busy everybody is and how difficult the documentation is. But the disclosures then go out to the buyer and they sign them and we are off and running.
Okay, so how does the process work with finding the best rate?
So rates
quite a bit.
now, yeah. Rates today are so competitive. It's really, it's not like the good old days. Probably if you're talking to your parents, they're gonna say, oh, make sure to shop 3 or 4 different companies because the rates are gonna be different. And we just don't see that anymore, especially after the last recession that we went through. The regulations that came down kind of prohibited us from really, you won't see very much rate difference between lenders at all. The biggest difference that you're finding between lenders is fees. So that's something to ask about. And time frame to get the loan closed. And there's a lot of trust involved in the home buying process. You want to make sure that you can trust your lender, that you feel comfortable with them. So those are the kind of things that really people end up shopping for. Getting the best rate is knowing your situation. Again, going back to that pre-qualification process. If you get in the middle of a pre-qualification and your credit score may be a little too low for one program that you were hoping to get, it gives you time to kind of get those credit issues fixed. Sometimes putting a little bit more down payment will help the rate go down a little bit. So that's, again, in the conversation that you and your lender have as far as making sure that you're getting the best opportunity for rate possible in the process.
And do you offer that as a service to clients to help them with their credit score if it's not where it needs to be?
Yeah. All that, again, pre-qualification's free, consultation about, what can we do to get that better rate? What can we do to maybe help get your credit score up a little bit? I've been doing it a long time, so there's a lot of times I can just look at the credit and kind of go, hey, you may want to do this, you may think about doing that, and we could fix it pretty easily.
And then I wanted to ask you, what are some do's and don'ts if you know you want to buy the home, gosh, any day, or if you've got a plan for 3 to 6 months? How should you go?
So do's, we'll start with the positive. So do save money if you can. Even if you don't think you're going to need it, it's always good to have money in the bank. It kind of helps strengthen the file. Do make sure you make all your payments on time. Be very diligent about, making sure that nothing's missed. And do get pre-qualified ahead of schedule. And sometimes I even recommend the pre-qualifications are good for 4 months with us. So if you're thinking even, hey, my lease isn't out until September, I don't need to start now, it's better to start ahead of schedule than to be too late. So those are some good do's. Don'ts, definitely don't open up any new credit. If you're thinking about buying a house, don't go buy, new cars, don't make late payments. And definitely, if you're unsure, again, if you've gotten a pre-qualification ahead of schedule and you trust your lender, reach out to your lender and say, hey, my car broke down, I need to fix it, or I really just need to buy a new one. Is that going to be okay? And have that conversation ahead of schedule. That way you save yourself a headache.
How far out do you need to not be buying a car or opening a credit card before you buy a house?
If you're going to do it, you need to do it before your pre-qualification so that we're pre-qualifying you with that information in hand. I have had some situations, and the car is a very good example of that, where we got pre-qualified with this car payment, 2 months passed, they got in a car accident and they had to buy another car. Well, you can't help that. So again, just reach out to your lender, let them know what's going on, and that way they can make sure everything's still okay.
And certainly once you have a home under contract and you're going through the lending process, don't go out and buy the new car then, or open a line of credit for furniture, right?
Correct. Biggest problem we have is everyone gets excited and either spends their reserves buying furniture or appliances, or gets that 10% off at Mathis Brothers for furniture, and that one little action can actually blow a deal up, and it's happened. So be very, very careful about anything at all while you're in process of buying a house.
Okay. Well, anything else that you would tell anybody, whether they're a seasoned buyer or a first-time home buyer, about the lending process to kind of ease their fears and worries?
I would say, and I tell all my customers this, just be patient. It's very overwhelming. Even if you've bought a home before, a lot of the regulations have changed over the years. I've got people that have bought 5 homes, but they haven't bought one in 10 years, and they come back to buy a house and they're like, wow, this process is totally different than when I bought the last one. Right. And that's the truth. So be very, be patient with your realtor, be patient with your lender, take some deep breaths and understand we're here to get you in the house. That's our goal, not to make you mad or or try to get you to not buy the house. So that's my biggest advice is start early and be very honest and open, and then just have a lot of patience.
All right. Very cool. And how do folks get a hold of you if they have any questions or want to start the process?
They can call me or text me at my cell phone number, which is 918-787-1046. I'm available pretty much 24/7. That's just the industry we're in. But you can also reach me via email at the First United Bank website, and you can also get me on my online application, which is JELLIS JELLIS.firstunitedteam.com. I forget there's no at in there, but any one of those. Phone and text is usually the easiest.
Okay. Very cool.
All right.
Thank
Thanks so much for having me.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for the information.
You bet.